Karen's sneer could curdle milk from a mile away. She stood there, planted like a bad weed, right in the middle of my ranch, acting like she owned every blade of grass. For the third time this month, HOA Karen, the neighborhood's self-appointed dictator, had waddled onto my property, her designer heels sinking into the dirt, to complain about my cattle ruining her view. The view she didn't own. The view she'd been harassing me about since she moved into the gated community a half-mile down the road. This wasn't just about trespassing, it was personal. Karen had made it her mission to torment me ever since I refused to join her precious HOA, a decision that apparently wounded her ego like a dagger. She'd sent letters, left voicemails, even rallied neighbors to boycott my ranch's roadside egg stand. But today, she'd gone too far, stomping past my no trespassing signs with a clipboard and a vendetta, claiming she was inspecting my land for code violations. Code violations on a ranch that's been in my family for 3 generations. The nerve. I'd had enough. Grabbing my hat and my phone camera rolling for evidence, I marched out to confront her. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the pasture, and the air smelled of hay and trouble. Karen was near the barn, scribbling furiously on her clipboard, her oversized sunglasses sliding down her sweaty nose. She didn't see me coming until my boots crunched on the gravel path. "Karen, what the hell are you doing on my land?" I called out, my voice sharp enough to startle a nearby cow. She spun around, her jowls quivering with indignation, and pointed a manicured finger at me like I was the one breaking the law. "This property is an eyesore, Jake," she barked, her voice dripping with disdain. "Your cows are a public nuisance, and I'm documenting it for the county." She waved her clipboard like a royal decree, as if my family's ranch was her personal kingdom to rule. "You're trespassing," I said, stepping closer, my phone still recording. "Those signs aren't decorations. Get off my land, or I'm calling the sheriff." Her eyes narrowed, and for a moment, I thought she'd back down. But Karen wasn't the backing down type. She puffed up her chest, her tacky leopard print jacket straining at the seams, and sneered, "Go ahead. Call the cops. I'm doing them a favor by reporting you. You're the one who'll be in handcuffs by sundown." That's when I noticed Mr. Thompson, my quiet neighbor from across the road, hovering near the fence. He'd probably heard Karen's shouting and wandered over to see what was going on. His face was pale, and he clutched his old baseball cap nervously, clearly uncomfortable with the escalating drama. "Jake, you okay?" he called out, his voice shaky. "I'm fine, Tom," I replied, keeping my eyes on Karen. "Just dealing with an uninvited guest." Karen scoffed, turning her venom on poor Tom. "Mind your own business, you old coot. This is between me and this hillbilly." She gestured at me like I was some kind of vermin. Tom flinched but stayed put, his loyalty stronger than his fear of Karen's wrath. I dialed the sheriff's office, keeping my voice calm but firm. "Hey, Deputy Harris. It's Jake Larson. Got a trespasser on my ranch again." "Yeah, it's her. Can you send someone out?" Karen's smug grin faltered for a split second, but she quickly doubled down, pulling out her own phone and dialing with a flourish. "I'm calling the police too," she declared, as if she were summoning an army. "We'll see who they believe, a respectable HOA president or a dirty rancher who lets his cows stink up the neighborhood." The wait for the deputy felt like an eternity. Karen kept ranting, pacing back and forth, her voice carrying across the pasture like a foghorn. She insulted my barn, my truck, even my dog, Rusty, who'd wandered out to see what the fuss was about. Rusty, bless him, just sat there, tilting his head at her like she was a particularly loud squirrel. Tom stayed by the fence, occasionally muttering about how Karen had tried to fine him for planting unauthorized roses in his own yard. When Deputy Harris finally pulled up in his patrol car, dust kicking up behind him, I felt a flicker of relief. Harris was a no-nonsense guy, born and raised in this county, and he knew the difference between a legitimate complaint and Karen's brand of nonsense. He stepped out, adjusting his hat, and surveyed the scene, me, standing firm with my phone still recording. Karen, red-faced and waving her clipboard, and Tom, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. "All right, what's going on here?" Harris asked, his voice steady but tired. He'd dealt with Karen before. Her complaints about noisy roosters and unsightly mailboxes were legendary at the sheriff's office. Karen launched into her tirade before I could open my mouth. "Officer, this man is a menace. His cows are a health hazard, and his property is lowering our home values. I'm here as HOA president to protect the community, and he threatened me." Harris raised an eyebrow, then turned to me. "Jake, your side." "She's trespassing," I said simply, holding up my phone. "Got it all on video. She's been on my land for 20 minutes, ignoring the signs, harassing me about my cattle. This is the 3rd time this month." Harris nodded, then looked at Karen. "Ma'am, you're aware this is private property." Karen's face twisted into a mask of outrage. "I have every right to be here. I'm conducting an official inspection. The HOA has authority." "No, ma'am, you don't." Harris cut her off, his tone firm. "HOA rules don't apply to private ranches outside your jurisdiction. And those signs," he pointed to the no trespassing signs clearly posted along the fence, "they mean you're breaking the law." Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. For the first time, she seemed to realize she might not win this one. But instead of backing off, she doubled down, jabbing a finger at Harris. "You're taking his side because you're all in on it. I'm calling my lawyer. I'll have your badge." That was her fatal mistake. Harris's expression hardened, and he reached for his radio. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to calm down and step off this property. If you refuse, I'll have to arrest you for trespassing and disorderly conduct." Karen laughed a shrill, mocking sound that grated on my nerves. "Arrest me? For doing my civic duty? You wouldn't dare." Harris didn't blink. "Last chance, ma'am." She didn't move. Instead, she crossed her arms, planted her feet, and smirked, as if daring him to follow through. "Big mistake." Harris sighed, pulled out his handcuffs, and started reading her rights. "Hoa Karen, you're under arrest for criminal trespass and disorderly conduct." The look on her face was priceless pure shock, followed by a dawning horror as she realized she'd played herself. She started shrieking about lawsuits and her connections. But Harris was unfazed, guiding her toward the patrol car with a firm hand on her elbow. Tom, still by the fence, let out a low whistle, shaking his head in disbelief. Even Rusty seemed to sense the victory, wagging his tail as Karen was led away. As the patrol car pulled out, Karen's furious face pressed against the window. I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and pity. She'd brought this on herself, but there was something sad about watching someone so consumed by their own ego crash and burn. Tom walked over, clapping me on the shoulder. "You handled that like a champ." Jake. Maybe she'll think twice now. Doubt it, I said, chuckling. But at least she's someone else's problem tonight. The next morning, word spread like wildfire. Karen's arrest was the talk of the county. And by noon, my egg stand had a line of neighbors buying cartons and swapping stories about her reign of terror. Turns out, she'd been bullying half the town, finding people for unapproved paint colors, harassing kids for skateboarding, even trying to get the local diner shut down for serving greasy food. Her HOA empire was crumbling, and her arrest was the final nail in the coffin. A week later, I heard she'd been fined heavily and banned from holding any HOA office again. Her house went up for sale shortly after, and rumor has it she moved to a condo in the city, where she could terrorize a new set of neighbors. As for me, I kept ranching, same as always, with Rusty by my side and the open sky above. The land was mine. The cattle were happy, and for the first time in months, I didn't have to look over my shoulder for Karen's next scheme. Sometimes, justice comes slow, but when it hits hard. And for HOA Karen, it hit like a stampede. The end.